like the bride and groom side here. All right, so I'm Brian McGoley. I'm the executive director for the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency. I would appreciate you all coming tonight. We're here to talk about digital equity and smart cities. So we have a program today that's going to be pretty interactive. We're going to be looking at various domains and potential applications. But the whole point is to start a conversation with everyone in the community, people that are interested in this, and look at how it can help all of the various municipal challenges we all deal with. Whatever domain, there's a lot of data that's generated in the municipal space. There's a lot of technology that's available to help us better manage these complex systems as we grow and develop as a city. And we're joined by a consulting team. We have a PhD here, so we'll have a chance to introduce themselves along with DKSR. And then, yeah, so we'll just get into it. Just want to thank you all for being here. And then hopefully we'll get through our presentation and then have time for a discussion.
Right. Thanks, Brian. Good evening, everyone. My name is Curtis Bradford. I am with VHB. I lead our smart use practice. I want to introduce my team members really quick and introduce Laura from DKSR. Then we'll get into the overview. But mostly what we want to do is get you out of your seats so you guys can help us imagine a future vision. So in the back, Ken Schwartz, who leads our planning and design service, Michael Goldenberg, who's leading the community plan that we're doing in sync with this for South Norwalk, Andrew Buck, who's a senior planner and technologist for VHB based in our New York City office. And then you're going to hear a lot more from Jenny Nelson later today. Let me hand the mic over to Laura to introduce the DKSR team.
Thank you, Kurt. So very quickly, my name is Laura Dieguez, and I'm here from the KSR. That stands for Data Competence for Cities and Regions. We are a company based in Berlin, Germany, and we're working on a series of projects together with Norwalk. And today we are here to support this workshop. I'm here with two of my colleagues as well. So all the way in the back, there is Tim Kleffman. He works with us on business development. Here we have Fabian Landua, works like this, like it's too loud.
Like we turn it down.
Can we turn it down? All right. We have Fabian here, data scientist, and myself, I didn't say it, I work as a consultant and we work on all matters around smart city and software products for smart cities.
Yeah. Thanks, Laura. So we're excited to bring a worldwide team here to South Norwalk. So what are we doing tonight? There's going to be two parts. First, we're going to talk about digital equity, and Jenny Nelson's going to dive into the nuts and bolts of that and what that means. The second part is we'll describe some emerging smart city practices that may be applicable to the city here and the neighborhood in particular. But we really want to get your feedback, and that's where we're going to spend most of our time in the breakout sessions at 4 different groups you see around the room. I'll describe how we're going to do that in a moment. But we're also joined online. We've got a virtual meeting going on at the same time. Michaela, I think you wanted to address the folks that are online. So if everybody in the room could just bear with us for a moment. She's going to just kind of let them know how some of the functionalities work of the Zoom meeting.
Morning or good afternoon, evening, everybody. I wanted to review some Zoom logistics before I hand it back over to the team. So we online are recording tonight's main part of the presentation. Automatic captioning is available via the captions button. Somebody has actually already put it on for this session, so perfect. We're running the presentation portion of tonight's session as a webinar, meaning cameras, mics, and chat are unavailable. Once the main presentation wraps up, we'll branch out and do the online participants will enter a separate breakout session where we'll be able to unmute and share your thoughts via discussion and whiteboard activity. The breakout will not be recorded to allow for open discussion. And then with that, back over to the team as well too. So thank you guys.
So they'll be doing the same activities as everybody here in the room. She's good. All right, thanks, Michaela. All right, let me hand it over to Jenny to talk about digital equity.
Thanks, Kurt. My name is Jennifer Nelson. I am an urban planner with PHP, and I am doing some digital equity analysis for the City of Norwalk. So I've done a handful of digital equity plans in Massachusetts, and that same kind of analysis methodology is what I brought to the City of Norwalk. So first, we want to address what is digital equity. According to the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, or NDIA, they define digital equity as a condition in which all individuals and communities have the information technology capacity needed for full participation in our society, democracy, and economy. There are typically 3 pillars of digital equity that are addressed when we're talking about analysis of existing conditions. And the first pillar is the access to the internet. So this can be broadband internet like fiber optic or cable, or sometimes people have dial-up as well. So there are many different ways for people to access the internet. Second is devices. So do you have the appropriate devices to complete your work, to complete your education, to socialize with other people online? And the third pillar is training. So that's talking about digital literacy. Do you have the appropriate skills and knowledge to use the devices and the broadband internet service that you have to appropriately function in life and use the internet for the economy and socialization? So why does this matter? So obviously the COVID-19 pandemic kind of thrust us into this new digital age. We knew it was going to happen anyways, but the pandemic accelerated everything. And it also highlighted a lot of discrepancies between people who have access to these digital tools and resources and the people who don't have access to these things. And that creates greater social inequities. And as we're going to learn tonight, there are some things that you can do with digital devices like smart city technology, accessing digital platforms and data platforms that are just not possible if you don't have access to the right tools. So there's been a lot of federal investment, and so now there's a lot of grants also available for, and it differs by city and by state region, but there's a lot of grants out there too that the city should be aware of when they're making proposals and proposed changes to the city. So the study methodology for analyzing digital equity, we use a lot of raw data to make our initial assessments. So this comes from the US Census. This comes from the Connecticut Broadband Mapping Hub. The state actually has a really thorough broadband map that we could use to kind of get some more data. And then we also use the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC's national data. We also looked at some relevant reports, such as the Connecticut Broadband Report and the Connecticut State Digital Equity Plan. The third element is the community input, and this is really the meat of digital equity plans or digital equity analysis, is understanding at a residential level and business level of what's going on the floor. You know, what's happening? Do you have good internet speeds? Sometimes FCC data is incorrect. So we want to know, you know, do you have solid internet? Do you have the right devices that you need to access all of the other tools that we're talking about tonight? Do you feel comfortable using these devices and using the internet? So when we look at existing conditions, first we're looking at internet access. So I have some comparison slides for the City of Norwalk and then the actual study area, which is South Norwalk. So in Norwalk City, Norwalk ranks the 3rd of the 10 largest cities in Connecticut in terms of household subscription to broadband internet services at 90.8%. However, when we look at the study area, so there's numbers at the bottom. Basically, in South Norwalk, those first 2 columns, tract 441 and tract 445, they have less households subscribed to internet than the city and the state do. Thank you. So only 13% of households in tract 441 do not have an internet subscription. In tract 445, that number jumps to 17%. So it really begs the question of, why are people not subscribing to the internet? Is there some issue with affordability? Is there an issue with understanding how to subscribe to the internet? Is there some opposition to the internet because there's a lack of understanding of how to use it? Next, we have device access. So again, Norwalk ranks 3rd in terms of household access to computing devices when we're looking at the 10 largest cities in Connecticut, not behind West Hartford and Stamford. But when we look at South Norwalk, there's some pain points here highlighted in census data, especially for tract 445, which is the South Norwalk neighborhood. According to census data, 18% of households have a smartphone with no other type of computing device. And as we know, if you have a smartphone and you're trying to write a Word document or redo your resume or apply to jobs, that can be really difficult if you don't have a computer to help you. So what kinds of questions are we asking here? Are devices inaffordable for people here? Or is there not enough like public devices, or maybe there's enough public devices? But there's definitely some questions here that we need to investigate when we're talking about South Norwalk specifically. And last, we have skills and training. So there are community anchor institutions, which are described as places where people can get access to devices or internet that support digital equity in a region or in a community. So in South Norwalk, this includes places like the Nathaniel Eli School, Columbus Magna School, the Open Door Shelter, the police station, even the Housing Authority, and the Norwalk Public Library. Some digital inclusion services. So when we're talking about digital equity, digital inclusion is the work that goes into forging digital equity across the community. So Norwalk Public Library has Internet to Go, which is a hotspot lending program. They have in-person and virtual technology workshops. They have one-on-one technology appointments, free online resources. The Odyssey Learning Center also has parent workshops and workforce training, which a lot of times people go to workforce training and they learn those digital skills in order to apply to jobs, and that supports digital equity as well as social equity. So things to think about when we go over to our discussion groups is these three pillars of digital equity: broadband, device access, and digital literacy. And I highlighted a few questions that I want you to keep in mind when we go into those breakout groups. What are some barriers to this subscription of internet? Is it affordability? Is it understanding? Is it trust of internet services? When we're talking about device access, is there a need for more public devices? Do we need more hotspots in the library? Do we need more public laptops? Do we need more desktops that have a lot of manpower or a lot of RAM power and CPU? How can we help people get computers? Then when it comes to digital literacy, there's some training offered in South Norwalk already. Is it well used? Do we need different kinds of trainings? Is there another way to get the community engaged in this kind of work? Now I'm going to pass it over to Kurt.
All right, thanks, Jenny. So the next thing we want to talk about is how we can use some of that new internet connectivity and broadband to address some of the other challenges the city has. It's really easy to want to jump to the conclusion or jump to the solutions of the new technologies we all read about and see. But it's really important first to establish the problem statement. What exactly is that we're trying to solve, and what is the justification for using that type of potential technology? So we really take a look at some environmental conditions. First one being tree canopy cover and the corresponding urban heat island effect. So the neighborhood we're in here, as you can see, is very much less green than the areas around it. So that leads to increased temperatures. And then, as you can see on the slide to the right, a little hard to see the graph. Sorry about the captions there. But more severe heat, and which is particularly an issue if people have less energy efficient homes. You spend more money on air conditioning if you're lucky enough to have air conditioning, and it just exacerbates a quality of life issue. Some other things we're looking at are involved with public health. So you can see our study area here is it has a far greater prevalence of obesity and other chronic health conditions than Fairfield County as a whole and the city as a whole, as well as our national data. So that shows that there's impediments to physical activity, whether it's a safety issue. It could be related to the going back to the urban heat island effect. People may not want to go out and walk or go to the park or take transit if there's just not a pleasant environment to be in. if it's too hot to do that. So one of the things we do want to look at is how we can introduce better accessibility to physical activity to help people live healthier lives. Also looking at some environmental other constraints. We've got a flooding issue. That's the 1% chance flood zone at the very bottom there near MLK, and then the corresponding storm surge area. So these are impacts that affect the study area today. And there may be some technologies we can use to help provide better alerts for people to result in better safety conditions. Transit accessibility is one of the things we hear, particularly in the community plan, as being a big issue that people would like to see addressed. So right now there is, there's service going through the study area, but what we've heard is that people would like better, better enhancements, better shelters, better service overall. The city submitted for a SMART grant to help to address this. And then we've also heard that there's, because of all the truck traffic going through this part of the area, that leads to congestion problems, parking problems, just like that, as well as air quality issues. Really quick, man.
What is this little foot you've got here? Are you saying that's all of South Norwalk, and where does it start? It goes down into South Norwalk.
The foot?
Well, it looks like a little sock.
Yes, this is a census tract. This is part of a study area we're doing for this community planning. Oh, the road this is MLK and Michael, I don't know the exact, yes.
Okay, so what's Martin Luther King?
Right down the center.
Wait a minute, down the center. Oh, you're over there in the left.
Oh, sorry, okay. Right there.
You've got two things, so that's all of South Norwalk, because you guys aren't basically really, you're not fully. Maybe clear. Okay.
Okay. All right. So understanding what some of those issues are to address, there's an opportunity to look at what are called smart city technologies, which help to make communities more sustainable, more resilient, more equitable, by choosing the right type of innovation or technology to address some of the issues we addressed or that we spoke about. And I know I'm going fast. I don't want to spend a lot of time in presentation. I want to spend more time at the breakout boards so we can talk about, individually with you all on that. Some of the benefits that the city could, that South Norwalk could have from embracing this is, Jenny talked about the internet access, so increased access to that at public facilities or in, public parks. Having a better understanding of how the city and the redevelopment authority is making decisions because they make the data public for everybody to see. Thinking about reduced impact from climate hazards, thinking about improved public safety overall, and looking at better transportation conditions for people, particularly those who either don't have a car or choose not to own a car. So there are literally hundreds of different smart city solutions. There are sensor arrays that measure noise, they measure air quality, they measure temperature, they can do things like gunshot detection, do cameras to help look at pedestrian safety. There are electric vehicle charging stations that can be put in to help reduce the climate impact. There are a number of just sensors that you could buy from any company, but again, we want to understand from you which ones are most appropriate for the Norwalk community. So what we're going to do is get into a breakout session for about 45 minutes. Around the room, we've got 4 different stations, connected communities. So talking about, public Wi-Fi access, talking about data and connectivity. Number 2 is public safety and health. So that's going to talk about some of those chronic disease and air quality questions that we mentioned. Number 3 is going to talk about environment and climate. So Andrew, raise your hand. So that's looking at the urban heat island effect, looking at flooding. And the fourth one is mobility. So looking at how we can improve transportation conditions for all. So what we want you to do is get up and visit each station. You can see there's a big blank spot in the middle of the board. And we want to hear from you. So what is the problem that you observe that you're facing? So as an example, on a sticky note, we would want you to write or to tell us to write, there's flooding at MLK and Rockland at the south end of our study area. And then tell us what's a way that you would address that. So one way could be that the city puts in dynamic messaging signs that says when there's a rainstorm about to happen or a flood, and then you can sign up to receive text alerts. So that's just a suggestion. The idea is that we're going to fill in these boards with all of your ideas. So we're crowdsourcing the innovation ideas from you. So our facilitators aren't really here to tell you the answer. You guys are the experts of your community. So we want you to tell us what it is you would like to see. So either it's a problem that you want the city and the redevelopment authority to know about, or it's a type of solution. It doesn't have to be a technology solution, but it could be. And so the people that are online, our online guests, will actually do the same exercise in a virtual breakout as well. So, but before we do that, I wanted to spend a couple minutes just on Q&A, just in case there's anything anybody wanted to ask before the group, before we break out. So we'll do that for about 45 minutes. And then we'll come back together as a group. If anybody wants to share something that they learned or an idea they want to share with everybody else, we'd love to hear it. And then we have to clean up, Katie, by 7:30. Otherwise, the library's going to hand us a broom and a dustpan. So, yes. So we do have a hard close at 7:30. But I wanted to invite anybody to come up to the mic if they have any questions before we get started on the breakout session. Yeah, do you mind coming up so the people online can hear
It's
too?
more of a logistic question, not like a content question. I'm just gonna ask if I'm sure should we just rotate on our own time or do we rotate like this?
Yes, please rotate on your own time. We hope that you visit every station, and that you, but you don't need to, go 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. It's kind of at your own time, but again, please ask the facilitators. There's gonna be 2 at each board. Ask them the top questions that you want to hear answered. And they're here to help you to record your comments. We have some ideas. So at the bottom of each board, there's what we call the Smart Community Toolbox. And those are technologies that are being used in other cities today. Those are ideas in case somebody needs kind of a starting point. But again, we're not leading with the solution. We want to hear your unique ideas for solutions.
Yeah, a couple of in chat, questions in chat.
Okay.
Apologies, there's no questions in the chat. I was asking the chat if there were any questions.
Michaela is our online facilitator, so it's even though we've been doing this for a while, hybrid meetings are still a little challenging. So.
Why don't you do this at City Hall when we have more time instead of being rushed through?
I think we wanted to pick a venue that was that had some availability. I'm not sure why not at City Hall today, but perhaps for a follow-up.
How many minutes per station?
Approximately 10 minutes per station. Yeah. All right, well, yes, sir.
I was going to offer a potential answer to that question. This venue for people who don't have cars is much easier to access because of the train station and better bus connectivity, better walkability. City Hall is pretty inconvenient.
Thank you for adding that. Okay, well, why don't we all get up, stretch your legs, please go to the station of your choice, and we'll come back together in about 45 minutes.